The desert heat pressed down on the base like a living weight, baking the sand into glassy grains and making even seasoned soldiers squint against the glare. Inside the compound, recruits moved in orderly lines, their boots pounding against cracked asphalt with the rhythm of discipline. Among them was Sergeant Elena Vega, her face expressionless beneath the brim of her patrol cap, her dark hair hidden away in the regulation bun that gave nothing of herself away. To most eyes she looked ordinary, another uniform in a sea of uniforms, another soldier lost in the shuffle of duty. But to those who looked closer, something didn't quite add up. For weeks, the whispers had been spreading. Vega was strong, sharper than most, but she carried herself differently. Not like the others who tried to prove themselves with every movement. She moved with restraint, as if part of her training was still hidden, kept beneath the surface. And then there was the scar, barely visible along the back of her neck where her collar couldn't quite hide it. Some said it was from shrapnel, others claimed it was surgical, a mark from experiments done overseas. Whatever the truth, it only deepened the air of mystery around her. The instructors had been watching closely. Vega aced the physical trials with calm efficiency, never boasting, never faltering. She shot straighter than most, her scores on the rifle range consistently near perfect. But there was a problem. She resisted integration. She sat alone in the mess hall, eyes scanning constantly, never letting her back face an open door. She volunteered for the night watches no one wanted. And when she thought nobody was looking, she stretched in ways that weren't standard military drills, moves that belonged to a different world altogether. By the third week of training, the instructor's patience wore thin. "You can't keep playing lone wolf," one barked during a tactical drill. "You either work with your squad, or you're out." She didn't argue. She never did. Vega only nodded, expression blank, and returned to formation. But her silence was louder than their reprimands, and it fueled the rumors that maybe she wasn't here for the same reason everyone else was. The breaking point came during a humid afternoon exercise, when the recruits were ordered to strip down to PT uniforms for heat acclimation. Vega hesitated, just long enough for the squad to notice. Her hands lingered at the zipper of her combat blouse, her eyes flicking once toward the watchtower where the base commander stood. Then, with slow precision, she pulled the blouse over her head and turned her back. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, whispers, and a sharp intake of breath that spread through the line like a shockwave. Across her shoulder blade stretched a black ink tattoo, its lines harsh and deliberate, forming a symbol only a few recognized instantly. To most, it was only a strange mark. To the instructors, it was a problem. But to Commander James Holbrook, watching from the tower above, it was something else entirely. The tattoo wasn't decorative. It wasn't personal art. It was a unit insignia, but not one recognized in standard military records. It belonged to a program whispered about in secure briefings, a program buried so deep that even senior officers pretended it didn't exist. The Ghost Division. Soldiers who weren't supposed to have names, soldiers erased from files once their missions were complete. If Vega bore that mark, it meant she'd belonged to them once. And if she had, then she was not the ordinary recruit she pretended to be. But on the ground, the instructors didn't see legacy. They saw insubordination. Sergeant Vega, one snapped, stepping forward. "That tattoo is unauthorized. Regulations are clear, any markings outside approved standards are grounds for dismissal. You will remove that uniform permanently. Pack your gear. You're done here." The order cracked through the humid air like a whip, and every recruit froze. Vega didn't flinch. She only straightened, her eyes steady, her posture calm. If the insult stung, if the dismissal threatened her future, she didn't show it. Instead, she saluted crisply, turned on her heel, and began walking toward the barracks. But above, Commander Holbrook had already descended from the tower. His boots struck the ground with authority, his steps measured, each one carrying the weight of rank that silenced conversation wherever he passed. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. When he reached the formation, his presence alone made the instructors stiffen and the recruits shift uneasily. Hold. His voice was calm, even, but it froze Vega in her tracks. She turned slowly, meeting his eyes for the first time. For a long moment, neither moved. The commander studied her, gaze steady, as if weighing a memory against the reality in front of him. Finally, he spoke. That tattoo. Where did you get it? The field went silent. Every ear strained to catch her answer. Vega's lips pressed into a thin line. For the first time, she hesitated. Not out of fear, but calculation. With respect, sir, she said evenly, that's classified. The words rippled like electricity through the crowd. Recruits exchanged bewildered glances. Classified? Who did she think she was? Instructors bristled, ready to reprimand her insolence. But Commander Holbrook lifted a hand, silencing them before they could speak. Come with me. No one questioned him. Not when he led her away from the formation, not when his shadow swallowed hers beneath the barracks wall, and not when the door closed behind them, leaving the rest of the base buzzing with speculation. Inside the dim office, the air was cooler, but tension hung heavier. Holbrook studied Vega across the desk, his hands folded. That mark doesn't belong here, he said quietly. And yet here you are. Why? Vega's expression flickered, just slightly. Enough to suggest there was an answer, but not enough to reveal it. I was told to report here, sir. Assignment orders. Same as everyone else. Holbrook leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Don't play coy with me. I know what that symbol means. I've seen it once before, on a file that was buried deeper than I had clearance for. If you're carrying it on your back, then you've walked through shadows most people can't even imagine. For the first time, her composure cracked. A flash of something, regret, defiance, maybe even fear, passed through her gaze. But she masked it quickly, shoulder squared. With respect, Commander, those shadows are behind me. Are they? His voice was low now, more dangerous than any shout. Because if that's true, then someone has made a very big mistake sending you here. And if it's not true, then every man and woman on this base is training next to a weapon they don't even realize is loaded. Vega said nothing. She didn't need to. The silence between them spoke volumes. And Holbrook, more than anyone, understood the weight of ghosts that never stayed buried. Outside, the recruits whispered, their imaginations filling the void. Inside, the commander stared at the soldier across from him, knowing this was only the beginning. The commander's office was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner struggling against desert heat. Holbrook leaned back in his chair, eyes locked on Vega as if she were a puzzle missing only one piece. You were ordered to remove the uniform, he said slowly, testing the words. And yet something tells me you've worn one longer than most of the people out there have been alive. Vega didn't flinch. Her composure was practiced, honed like the edge of a blade. She folded her hands neatly in her lap and answered without hesitation. With all due respect, sir, I served where no insignia mattered. Where uniforms were just fabric and survival was the only rank anyone respected. Holbrook's jaw tightened. He knew the truth of that world, though his path had skirted only the edges. Still, he recognized the language. Soldiers didn't talk like that unless they'd bled in places maps pretended didn't exist. You shouldn't be here, he said finally, his voice low. Not in this program. Not in open daylight where people can see you. Whoever cleared your assignment either doesn't know what you are, or they're testing you. Her gaze flickered, a micro-expression that betrayed more than any speech could. Testing me for what, sir? That's what I intend to find out. For a long stretch, silence settled between them, weighted and suffocating. Finally, Holbrook stood. His boots thudded against the wooden floor, and he paced to the window. Beyond the glass, recruits jogged in formation, chanting cadence under the sun. They looked so ordinary, so unaware of the storm, now sitting quietly in his office. "I've seen this before," he said without turning. "Operators who disappear from the record, only to resurface years later in places that make no sense. Every time, there's a reason. Sometimes they've been broken. Sometimes they've been hidden. And sometimes," he turned sharply, eyes narrowing on her. "Sometimes they're here to bury the past under a new name." Vega didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence confirmed enough. Holbrook exhaled slowly, settling back into his chair. "Tell me this, Sergeant. That tattoo on your back, did you choose it? Or was it branded onto you the way shadows claim their own?" Her voice dropped, quieter now. "It was earned, sir. Every line of it." The admission tightened something in his chest. This wasn't arrogance. It was memory. And memory in her voice carried the sharp edge of truth. Before he could probe further, the office door opened. Captain Reyes, one of the senior instructors, stepped inside, his expression rigid with disapproval. "Sir, we have a problem." Holbrook straightened. "Speak." Reyes glanced at Vega briefly, then back at the commander. Word spreading fast. The recruits saw the tattoo. They're asking questions. Some are saying she's dangerous. Others think she's some kind of legend. Either way, it's disrupting cohesion. If you want my recommendation, remove her before this gets worse. The commander's eyes never left Vega. "She stays," he said firmly. "Sir." "That's an order, Captain." "Dismissed." Reyes stiffened, saluted, and left. The door clicked shut, leaving them alone again. Vega exhaled slowly. "You just painted a target on your back for me, Commander." Holbrook gave a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I've carried worse targets." For the first time, a flicker of something almost human crossed her face. Amusement, maybe. Or respect. But it was gone just as quickly as it came. That evening, the mess hall buzzed with more than the usual noise of trays and chatter. Recruits clustered in groups, their eyes darting toward Vega where she sat alone at the corner table, calmly eating as if the weight of 100 stares didn't exist. The whispers grew louder, blending rumor with exaggeration. "They said she froze during training last week. Couldn't even clear a room." "Yeah, but then why'd the commander pull her aside? You ever seen him do that for anyone else?" "I heard she used to run Black Ops. Stuff that never made it to paper." "Nah, that's just talk. She probably washed out somewhere and is clinging to scraps." But in every voice there was a thread of curiosity, a gnawing uncertainty that unsettled even the most confident recruits. She was no longer just another soldier in their ranks. She was a question none of them could answer, and questions in the military were dangerous. Torres, a broad-shouldered corporal with a tendency to test boundaries, decided to confront it head-on. He strode across the mess hall, dropping his tray onto Vega's table with a loud clatter. She didn't look up. "That mark on your back," he said loudly, making sure others could hear. "What is it? Some gang thing? Some secret club?" Her fork didn't pause. "It's none of your concern." He smirked. "See, that's where you're wrong. You eat with us, you train with us, you fight beside us, what's inked on your skin matters. So why don't you enlighten the room before people start making up stories worse than the truth?" Finally, she looked up. Her gaze locked on his, steady and unyielding. The mess hall quieted. Forks hovered above plates. Conversations died mid-sentence. "What's worse, Torres?" she asked softly. "Not knowing what the mark means, or finding out and wishing you hadn't?" The challenge hung in the air, sharp as a blade. Torres' smirk faltered. He muttered something under his breath and retreated, the weight of her words heavier than any explanation. The whispers grew louder after that, but no one dared confront her again. Not openly. Later that night, Holbrook reviewed the day's reports in his office. Vega's name appeared repeatedly, flagged for disruption, for unauthorized markings, for potential dismissal. But he couldn't shake the image of her eyes when she said the tattoo was earned. He pulled a classified file from the locked drawer of his desk, one he hadn't opened in years. Inside were grainy photos, redacted mission logs, and a single page marked with a symbol identical to the one burned into Vega's back. The Ghost Division. Operators without existence. Missions without records. Soldiers built for silence. He leaned back in his chair, the weight of memory pressing heavy on his shoulders. If she was one of them, then dismissing her wasn't an option. It was a mistake. And mistakes in this arena didn't just cost careers, they cost lives. 2 days later, orders came down from Central Command. A surprise evaluation. A full squad exercise in the urban kill house. Every recruit would be tested, their scores determining advancement. When the list was posted, Vega's name appeared alongside Markham, Torres, and the rest of her unit. Whispers rippled through the barracks. Some expected her to fail, others feared what might happen if she didn't. That evening, as the sun bled into the desert horizon, Holbrook stood on the observation platform overlooking the kill house. The recruits assembled below, weapons checked, nerves taut. Vega stood at the edge of formation, her face calm, her movements deliberate. Reyes leaned toward the commander. "Sir, this is a mistake. If she cracks under pressure, it'll compromise the whole unit." Holbrook didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on Vega. He wasn't looking for cracks. He was waiting for the moment the shadows resurfaced. The buzzer sounded. The squad moved. And Elena Vega, the soldier ordered to remove her uniform, stepped into the kill house carrying not just her weapon, but the weight of secrets that refused to stay buried.